Welcome, chosen ones, to this transformative journey. If you've ever felt like you're waiting for something bigger to happen in your life, then you're exactly where you need to be. In today's video, we're diving deep into divine timing, spiritual breakthroughs, and the incredible transformation that awaits you. The universe has aligned this moment for you right now, and everything you've been praying for is closer than you think. So, if you're ready to step into your divine purpose, to unlock the mysteries of your true potential, then make sure you stay with us through the entire video. It's not by accident that you're here. God's plan for your life is unfolding now, and you're about to witness miracles. Chosen one, I want you to understand something today that has the power to shift your entire perspective on the seasons you've walked through. You've wondered about the delay, the silence, and the frustration of waiting. I've heard you cry out in the dark, asking, "Why is this taking so long? Why am I still waiting when others are moving forward?" I get it. You've seen people around you advance, doors opening for them, their dreams unfolding with ease. Meanwhile, you've knocked on doors that never budged, whispered prayers that seemed to disappear into the void. The truth is, what you thought was delay was actually divine strategy. God's silence wasn't absence, it was strategy. Every moment you felt ignored, hidden, or left behind, heaven was at work behind the scenes. While you were questioning your worth, your future, and your calling, God was building you, shaping you for the incredible purpose He has set before you. It wasn't that He didn't hear your cries, He heard them. It wasn't that He didn't see your struggles, He saw every single one. But heaven's timing works differently from the world's. While the world operates on clocks and deadlines, heaven moves by seasons. And right now, you were in a season of preparation. The delay wasn't punishment, it was protection. During this season, you were being incubated, hidden, preserved for something far greater than you could imagine. Every closed door wasn't rejection, it was protection. Every unanswered prayer wasn't a denial, it was a delay for your perfection. Heaven wasn't ignoring you, it was safeguarding you for what was coming. There were things, people, and even promises you weren't ready for yet. You didn't have the capacity to carry them then, and so God, in His mercy, slowed down the clock so your spirit could catch up with your calling. I want you to hear this clearly. You were never behind. You were being molded. You were being prepared in a way that would make you strong enough to carry the blessing, the favor, and the responsibility that was coming. This period of waiting, this seemingly silent time, was the construction phase of your destiny. While you wept in frustration, heaven was building the foundations of your future. Every prayer, every tear, every moment of doubt, God was using it all to strengthen the very core of who you are. The delay wasn't random. It wasn't just a waiting room that served no purpose. God wasn't absent. He was at work, quietly, steadily, and purposefully. He was refining your character, preparing you for the weight of what's coming. You couldn't see it, but everything was being aligned. You were walking through the valley, yes, but you were walking towards something. Even when you couldn't hear God's voice, His presence never left you. Just like David said in Psalms 23-4, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." The valley you walked through wasn't a sign of abandonment. It was a sign of preparation. In the silence, you learned the most important lesson you'll ever need to know. God's timing is always perfect. The world may operate on urgency, but heaven doesn't rush. It operates in the fullness of time. The things you desired, the promises you longed for, were not delayed because you weren't good enough. No, they were delayed because heaven was aligning everything perfectly. And when the time comes, when your appointed hour arrives, it won't just feel right, it will be perfect. Heaven won't just open doors for you. It will open them at the exact right moment, with the exact right people, and the exact right opportunities. That is the beauty of divine timing. So don't be discouraged by the silence. Don't be disheartened by the delay. Understand that what feels like stagnation is actually God's way of slowing you down to build something eternal. The foundation that is being laid beneath you right now is preparing you for something much greater. You are not being overlooked, you are being prepared. And this season of waiting, while it may have felt long, is the very thing that will propel you into the next season with strength, clarity, and purpose. The foundation is being set, chosen one, and when it's time, everything will unfold in a way that will take your breath away. Chosen one, I want you to take a moment and reflect on how far you've come, the delays you've faced, the obstacles, the times when you felt as though nothing was happening. Do you realize that each of those moments was part of a divine design? What you may have perceived as an obstacle, God was using to refine your purpose and align you with His perfect plan. Every prayer that seemed unanswered, every door that slammed in your face, and every time you were overlooked wasn't punishment. It was part of God's master plan to shape you into who you were always meant to be. I know, it's hard to see it when you're in the midst of the silence. When you're walking through the waiting period and nothing seems to be moving, it's easy to feel as if God is far away, or worse, that He's forgotten about you. But I want you to understand something today. Silence is not absence. It's a space of preparation. It's the season when God is doing the most work, even though you can't see it. Heaven doesn't always work in loud, obvious ways. Sometimes, it's in the stillness, in the quiet, that God is refining your character, strengthening your spirit, and preparing you for the magnitude of what's to come. You were never behind. You were just in the waiting room. And the waiting room is where God does His most powerful work. Think about how a potter works with clay. The process may seem slow, even tedious, but the potter knows exactly what they're doing. They shape the clay, mold it, and refine it until it's ready to take the form that was always intended for it. The potter doesn't rush the process. They know that the longer the process takes, the stronger and more beautiful the vessel will be. In the same way, God has been shaping you, molding you, and preparing you. The silence you've experienced wasn't a sign that God had forgotten you. It was a sign that He was working beneath the surface, building the foundation that would allow you to carry the promises that are about to unfold in your life. God was not withholding from you. He was protecting you, ensuring that you would be ready when the doors finally open. Let's talk about the beauty of divine timing. The world operates on a timeline. We measure everything by days, months, and years. But heaven operates in seasons. There are moments when God seems to slow time down because He knows you need it. Maybe you've felt frustrated by how slow things have been moving in your life. Perhaps you've watched others achieve their dreams and wonder, why is it taking so long for me? But God's timing is never off. It may seem like He's taking His time, but He's aligning everything in your life in perfect order. God knew that there were things in your life that needed to be aligned before He could release His full blessing upon you. He knew that there were relationships that needed to be established, wisdom that needed to be gained, and strength that needed to be built in you before you could carry what He was preparing. That's why things took longer than you expected. It wasn't because you weren't ready. It was because God was preparing you for what you were about to walk into. The waiting period was a season of preparation. Heaven was strategically slowing down the process so that you could catch up with your calling. There were areas of your life that needed healing, growth, and alignment. And while you were waiting, God was working in the background, setting everything up perfectly for when the time would come. Let me remind you of something. Every closed door was for your protection. Every time a relationship ended, every opportunity that didn't come to pass, and every prayer that seemed unanswered was God's way of shielding you from something that wasn't aligned with your destiny. The delays weren't detours. They were divine redirections. Heaven was protecting you from stepping into something prematurely. It wasn't rejection. It was refinement. There are things you can't see in the moment, but once you step into the fullness of what God has prepared for you, You'll look back and realize that everything you went through was part of the plan. The waiting, the pain, the silence, they were all necessary. They were the foundation upon which your destiny would be built. You weren't forgotten. You were being prepared. And now, as you step into this next phase, I want you to understand that your waiting has created something in you that will never be taken away. The lessons you've learned in the silence, the strength you've built during the pauses, and the wisdom you've gained in the waiting have all prepared you for the unveiling of your destiny. What you endured in secret is about to be revealed in public. The delay wasn't just about building your character, it was about positioning you for divine favor. This is where the beauty of divine delay comes into focus. What you thought was wasted time was actually a time of construction. Your character was being built. Your foundation was being strengthened. Your purpose was being solidified. And now, as you step into the season of unveiling, you're not stepping into it as the same person you were before. You are stepping into it stronger, wiser, and more equipped to carry the weight of the blessings that God is about to release into your life. There's a quote that says, "Everything that is happening to you is preparing you for what you asked for." This is exactly what has been happening in your life. The waiting has been the preparation. The season of silence was the space where God was getting you ready. And now, you're about to step into what you've been praying for. You're about to see the fruit of your patience, your endurance, and your faithfulness. The time of silence, of delay, was never wasted. It was the crucible where your strength was forged. And now, as heaven begins to open the doors of opportunity, favor, and blessing, you'll see how every single moment of waiting was part of the master plan. You are now positioned to receive the promises that God has had for you all along. The waiting is over. The unveiling is here. Chosen one, I want to take you into a deeper understanding of what the silence truly meant. I know it was hard to feel like God was distant during those times, when the heavens seemed so quiet, when the answers you desperately needed weren't coming through. There were moments when you cried out, seeking direction, and all you heard in return was the echo of your own voice. In those seasons, it's easy to feel abandoned, forgotten, or left behind. But I want you to know, what you perceived as silence wasn't emptiness, it was a classroom. A place where God was teaching you invaluable lessons that would become the foundation of everything He has for you. In the silence, God didn't disappear. He was teaching you how to find Him in ways you had never known before. The loud, thunderous moments where you'd expect Him to speak, He remained silent. The whirlwind of answers you were praying for didn't come. And in that void, you were forced to learn something powerful. You learned to locate God within, not just around you. You see, God was leading you into a deeper, more intimate relationship with Him. One where you wouldn't rely on external signs or loud manifestations to prove His presence. No. He wanted you to learn how to hear His still, small voice, the kind of voice that doesn't shout above the chaos but whispers beneath it. This wasn't just about you waiting for answers. This was about you learning to trust and obey God, even when you didn't have all the answers. Even when you couldn't see the way forward, He was teaching you to trust Him with your whole heart. He was training you to have faith, not in the answers, but in the one who holds the answers. It was a deeper kind of faith, a faith that wasn't based on what God could do for you, but on who He is. In this silence, you were not being abandoned, you were being prepared. You see, heaven doesn't train you in public, it trains you in private. It's in those quiet, unseen moments that God does the deep, transformative work that prepares you for your future. If you've been walking through a season of silence, know this: God has been working on your character. He's been shaping you, refining your heart, and preparing you for the work ahead. This season of silence was your divine training ground. There are many ways that God teaches us in silence. First, it's in these quiet seasons that God tests your anchor. You see, God wanted to know, and He wanted you to know. Would you still believe without signs? Would you still trust Him when there were no visible markers of His presence? Would you stay rooted in faith when you couldn't hear his voice? This was the lesson. True faith doesn't depend on signs. It doesn't rely on miracles to keep it alive. True faith is built on the foundation of knowing God's character and trusting in it, no matter what the circumstances are. In the silence, you learn to seek alignment, not just answers. Before, you may have chased after every answer, every revelation, hoping to see what God had in store for you. But in the quiet, you learn that it's not about the answers, it's about aligning your heart with God's will. God wasn't just testing your patience, He was teaching you how to be still, how to wait, and how to be aligned with His heart. You learn to let go of your own agenda, your own timeline, and simply wait for God's timing. You realize that sometimes the best thing to do is not to ask for answers, but to surrender to His will and trust that He is working in ways you can't see. God was also sharpening your discernment. Silence has a way of revealing our true motives, doesn't it? When everything around us is quiet, we're left to face ourselves. When God isn't giving us immediate answers, we're forced to look at the purity of our own hearts and examine why we want the things we do. The silence refined your desires and purified your motives. It wasn't about getting what you wanted. It was about ensuring that your heart was aligned with what God wanted for you. You learned to hear God's voice more clearly because it was no longer drowned out by your own desires or the noise of the world. As you walked through this season, you also learned that silence strengthens faith. You see, faith isn't built on what we see, it's built on what we believe. In those silent seasons, God was teaching you that faith is not about seeking signs and wonders. It's about trusting in the unseen, the things that are happening beneath the surface. God was teaching you how to trust in His goodness, even when you couldn't see His work. Silence refined your faith, making it stronger, deeper, and more resilient. You learned that real faith doesn't waver when the answers don't come immediately. It remains steady, even in the face of uncertainty. And during this silence, heaven wasn't empty, it was at work. It was in the silence that you began to see the difference between chasing after answers and seeking alignment with God's purpose. In the silence, you learned the valuable lesson of patience. You learned that God's timing is perfect, and that sometimes, waiting for Him is the most important thing you can do. You learned to trust that even when you couldn't see or hear anything, God was still working behind the scenes. The stillness became a place of rest for your soul. You didn't need to strive anymore. You simply needed to rest in the knowledge that God was in control. You also learned how to let go of control. Before, you may have been obsessed with knowing what was going to happen next, planning every step and trying to figure out every detail. But in the silence, God taught you how to release that control. He taught you to trust that He has it all figured out, even when you can't see it. And in doing so, He freed you from the pressure of trying to orchestrate everything yourself. The silence allowed you to stop striving and to simply be still before God. One of the most profound lessons you learned in silence was how to hear God's voice. It's not always loud and dramatic. It's often subtle, a whisper, a gentle prompting, a quiet knowing in your spirit. In the silence, God taught you how to listen for His voice amidst the noise. And as you learned to hear that still small voice, you grew in intimacy with God. You became more in tune with His heart, more attuned to His will. You realized that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is to simply be still and listen. The silence wasn't a void. It was a space where you could hear God more clearly, a space where He could speak to you in ways you couldn't hear when everything around you was chaotic. The beauty of this season, chosen one, is that silence has a way of purifying your motives. It purifies your faith, your desires, and your relationship with God. It strips away everything that isn't necessary, leaving you with a deeper, more intimate connection to the Creator. In that silence, you were being refined. God was shaping you, testing you, and preparing you for what was to come. And now, as you look back, you'll see that the silence wasn't an absence of God's presence. It was the space where He was doing the deep work in you that was necessary for your next season. Chosen one, as we continue to explore the lessons learned in the silence, I want to go deeper into how this period of quiet transformed you from someone who was chasing after answers to someone who seeks alignment with God's will. In the quiet, you move from a place of seeking to a place of becoming. Becoming what? Becoming a person who can stand firm in God's purpose. No matter what the circumstances look like around them, you stopped running after signs, and you started walking in faith, knowing that the silence itself was part of God's divine curriculum for your life. God's silence during this time wasn't a sign of rejection. It was a deep invitation to trust Him at a level you hadn't experienced before. Think about it. How many times have we felt God's presence only in the loud moments, in the times of great breakthrough, when things were going the way we expected? But when God chooses to remain quiet, when the thunder of revelation quiets and everything seems still, that's when the real work begins. That's when you start to learn the most. Not through the loudest answers, but through the quietest whispers, the subtle nudges that guide you, and the silent assurance that God is with you, even when you don't feel His presence. You see, God knew that this silence would refine you. It would purify your faith in ways that words and miracles couldn't. It was in this stillness that your faith was not tested by the miraculous but by the unseen. You were being tested in your ability to believe when nothing was happening. God wanted to know if you could trust Him, not because of what He does for you, but because of who He is. This is the kind of faith that matures over time, and this is the kind of faith that moves mountains. But it doesn't come overnight. It's developed in the quiet spaces of life, in the moments where you feel like you're walking alone. But in reality, God is walking with you more intimately than ever. As you move through the silence, you learned what true surrender looked like. Surrender is not passive. It's active trust. You chose to keep moving forward even when you couldn't see the way. You learned to rest in the truth that God's plan for your life was unfolding. Even when you couldn't see it yet, you chose to stop striving and start trusting. You chose to believe that the God who brought you this far would not leave you hanging. And in that decision to trust, you began to experience a peace that wasn't tied to circumstances. It was a peace that passed understanding. It was a peace that couldn't be shaken by the unanswered questions or the unseen future. One of the most powerful things you learned in the silence was how to discern the voice of God amidst the noise of the world. The world is loud. It shouts at you with its distractions, its pressures, and its demands. But God's voice is often found in the quiet, in the stillness of your spirit. And it's in this place that you learned how to listen not just with your ears, but with your heart. You learned that listening to God's voice isn't about hearing thunderous words from the heavens. Sometimes, it's about feeling a gentle nudge in your spirit, a whisper that says, "Trust me, I'm with you." You started to recognize that God speaks in the quiet spaces of life. You learned to feel His presence in the small things, in the quiet moments when you are alone with Him. As you matured in your relationship with God, you also grew in your ability to discern the counterfeit. Before, you may have struggled to distinguish between God's voice and the voices of fear, doubt, or even others' opinions. But during the silence, you learned how to tell the difference. You became more sensitive to the Holy Spirit's promptings, and you began to recognize when fear or doubt was trying to take over. You realized that God's voice doesn't come with anxiety. It comes with peace, even in the face of uncertainty. You began to trust that peace more than the loud voices of fear. The silence taught you how to hear and trust the voice of God in a way you never could have before. In the stillness, you also learned the deep value of obedience. Obedience isn't just about following instructions when it's convenient or easy. No, obedience in the silence is a powerful act of trust. When everything around you seemed to be in chaos, and you couldn't see the results of your obedience, you still chose to follow God. You learned that obedience doesn't always bring immediate results, but it always brings peace. And when you obey, even when you don't understand why, You position yourself for God's will to unfold in your life. You learn that the blessing of obedience isn't always immediate, but it is always eternal. Your obedience in the silence was a seed planted for a harvest you will soon reap. But obedience doesn't always come without struggle. I know that there were moments during this time when you felt frustrated, even discouraged. You wanted answers. You wanted to see results, but I want to remind you that it was in those moments of struggle that your faith was being refined. You see, when everything is quiet, you're forced to look inward, to confront the fears, doubts, and insecurities that may have been hiding beneath the surface. It's in the silence that God reveals the things that need to be healed, the places where you need to surrender more fully. And it's in this space of surrender that your faith grows stronger. It's in the quiet moments when you can't see what's ahead that your trust in God becomes unshakable. I know you've walked through moments when it felt like your faith was shaking, but I want to tell you something powerful today. That shaking is what strengthens you. You may have felt weak during those moments, but God was actually fortifying your spirit. You were being tested, but you were also being transformed. The silence you experienced wasn't meant to break you. It was meant to build you. It was meant to take you from relying on your own strength to relying fully on God's strength. You see, when you're in the silence, there's no place to turn except to God. And in that place of turning, you find the strength you didn't know you had. Through this season of silence, you've been shaped. You've been molded into someone who can stand firm in their faith, no matter what circumstances look like. You've learned that silence doesn't mean abandonment. It means preparation. You've been prepared for something greater than you could have imagined. And now, as the silence begins to fade and the doors start to open, you will realize that all of this time, God has been setting the stage for your destiny. Chosen one. As you stand on the brink of something incredible, I want you to take a moment to look back on your journey, the waiting, the silence, the seeming lack of movement. It's easy to feel like you've been stuck, like the seasons of delay have somehow sidelined you or held you back. But I want to share something with you today that I believe will shift your entire perspective. What you once thought was stagnation was, in fact, divine precision. For so long, you felt like you were standing still, as if time itself was working against you. You watched as others advanced, doors opened for them, and blessings seemed to follow them like a shadow. Meanwhile, it seemed like every door you knocked on remained locked. Every prayer you whispered went unanswered. You asked, "Why, God? Why does it seem like I'm always waiting? Why do I have to endure this silence while others are moving forward?" But now, as you look at it from a different angle, you will see that the waiting, the seeming delay, was never a setback. It was a setup. Heaven was aligning everything for the appointed time. Every moment of waiting, every pause, was a season of preparation, a time when the divine blueprint for your life was being carefully drawn out. You were never behind. You were being developed, refined, and positioned. This delay wasn't a detour. It was divine alignment. When you think back to the times you felt stuck, you can now see how God was orchestrating the timing of your life. It wasn't just random. It was all in perfect alignment with His plan for you. The closed doors weren't meant to stop you, they were meant to protect you, to ensure that you would step into the right opportunities at the right time. You were being protected, even when you couldn't see it, because heaven knew that if you'd walked through those doors prematurely, you wouldn't have been ready. You may have felt like you were stuck in a season of waiting, but in truth, it was a time of incubation. God was protecting your purpose, your calling, and your destiny by keeping you hidden until the right moment. Just like a seed must be buried in the soil before it can grow, your calling needed to be nurtured in the quiet, in the hidden places. You needed this time to develop roots, to grow stronger, to mature, and to be prepared for what was ahead. I know it hasn't been easy. The waiting was hard. There were times when you doubted, when you wondered if it was ever going to happen. But what you didn't see in those moments of doubt was that you were being shaped and fortified. Every moment of silence was part of the preparation for the divine unveiling of your destiny. Your purpose was being formed in the unseen, and now, as you look back, you'll realize how much of it was necessary for your growth. The delay was a process of transformation. You were being refined. You were being tested in ways you couldn't understand at the time. There were things in your character that needed to be worked on, things that needed to be stripped away, and God was using the silence to bring all of that to the surface. He was revealing areas in your life that needed healing, growth, or even removal. He was preparing your heart for what was to come, ensuring that when the breakthrough arrived, you would be able to handle it with grace, strength, and humility. Think of how a diamond is formed under pressure. It's only under extreme heat and pressure that carbon is transformed into a diamond. The same is true for you. The waiting, the delays, the hard seasons, they were the pressure that God used to refine you. What you once saw as hardship was actually God's way of making you stronger, more resilient, and more capable of carrying the blessings that were on their way. And now, as you stand on the edge of a new season, I want you to know that all of those delays, all of that waiting, was not wasted. It was heaven at work behind the scenes, aligning people, circumstances, and opportunities in ways you couldn't see at the time. What you thought was the end was actually the beginning of something greater. You were never behind, and you were never forgotten. You were being built, step by step, for the moment when your purpose would be unveiled to the world. The mystery of the delay is now being revealed. It wasn't just about waiting for the right time, it was about becoming the right person. You had to grow into your calling. You had to mature, to learn, and to be prepared for the responsibility that comes with the blessings and opportunities you're about to step into. Every trial, every struggle, every moment of doubt was part of the training ground that God used to equip you for this moment. You weren't denied, chosen one. You were being developed. The time that seemed like a delay was actually a time of preparation. You were in the waiting room of destiny. And now, the door is opening. The moment of unveiling is here, and you are stepping into your purpose with strength, confidence, and clarity. Now, as heaven begins to reveal the mystery behind all that you've endured, you will see how every single moment was part of a divine plan to position you for the incredible things ahead. You were never alone in this process. God was with you every step of the way, working behind the scenes, preparing the ground, aligning everything perfectly for the moment when the doors of opportunity would swing wide open. You were being positioned, even when you felt like nothing was happening. And now that the moment has come, I want you to realize something important. You are not the same person who started this journey. The waiting has transformed you. The delay has made you stronger. The silence has shaped your faith. The pressure has forged you into someone who is ready for what's about to come. Heaven wasn't just waiting for the right time. It was waiting for you to be ready. And now, the appointed hour has arrived. Chosen one, now that the mystery of the delay is beginning to unfold before you, I want you to understand something deeply important. You were never behind. You were always right on time with God. It's easy to look at others and compare your journey to theirs, especially when it feels like they're moving ahead, achieving things that seem so out of reach. But I want you to hear this with all your heart. What looked like a delay was actually a season of divine preparation. Heaven wasn't ignoring you. It was building your foundation. You see, there's a beauty in the waiting. It's in the waiting that God does his deepest work in our hearts. It's where he refines our desires, reshapes our motives, and strengthens our faith. You may have felt frustrated by the pace of things, but now, as you look back, you'll see that this time wasn't wasted. Heaven was using every moment to align you with the destiny he has planned for you. The delay was the necessary pause, the preparation time, the season where God was aligning people, resources, and opportunities, so that when the door finally opens, everything would fall into place perfectly. Now, let's talk about the beautiful transformation that takes place during this divine pause. While you thought nothing was moving, God was actively working in the background, orchestrating everything to bring you to this very moment. You weren't stagnant. You were in a place of deep development. You were being crafted, shaped, and formed into someone who can now stand firm in the purpose that is about to be revealed. I want you to think of a seed for a moment. A seed doesn't grow overnight. It has to be buried in the soil, often in the darkness, for a long period of time before it starts to sprout. And even then, the growth is slow and unseen for quite a while. But all that time spent in the soil is not wasted. It's essential for the root system to grow strong enough to support the plant when it begins to grow above the surface. Just like that seed, you were in a season of growth underground, in the quiet, in the hidden places, where no one could see you, but where God was working in you, shaping you, and getting you ready for the harvest that is about to come. During this time, heaven was removing the old soil, the old fears, insecurities, and things that didn't align with your true purpose, so that new, stronger roots could take their place. The delays, the rejections, and the waiting weren't signs that you were doing something wrong. They were part of God's process to remove everything that wasn't meant to go with you into the next season. You weren't stagnant. You were being refined. And now, as you step into the next chapter of your life, you will begin to see the fruit of that hidden work. The waiting was essential for your growth. It wasn't just about the destination. It was about becoming the person who could carry the weight of the destiny that is unfolding before you. The delays have developed your character. They've developed your patience, your wisdom, and your trust in God's timing. You've learned that while the world operates by clocks, heaven moves by seasons. And now, the season for your revealing has come. You've also learned that waiting doesn't mean inactivity. It doesn't mean you've been doing nothing while you waited. No, in the quiet moments, you've been growing. In the unseen moments, you've been preparing. You've been building your endurance, your strength, and your trust in God. And now, that preparation is paying off. You're no longer waiting for things to happen. You're walking into a season where things will begin to happen effortlessly. The delay was part of God's plan to ensure that you are ready for the blessings and opportunities that are about to flood into your life. I want you to hear this, chosen one. The delay wasn't just about timing. It was about the process of transformation that you needed to go through to become the person who can steward what God is about to release. What you've learned during this waiting season is going to sustain you in the seasons ahead. The lessons you've learned in patience, in trusting God, and in enduring through difficult times will be the foundation on which your future success is built. This season of silence, of waiting, was never in vain. It was the most important time of your life because it was shaping you for what's to come. Now, the time of waiting is coming to an end. The season of silence is giving way to a season of revelation. You are about to step into what you have been waiting for, but you'll walk into it with a new sense of maturity, wisdom, and understanding. The things you once prayed for with desperation, you will now step into with grace and confidence. You're no longer asking for breakthrough. You're walking in it. You've been prepared, and now, the doors that were once closed are about to open wide. Think of how Joseph's journey unfolded. He spent years in the dark, seemingly stuck in places of rejection and hardship. But all those years were necessary for him to rise to the position of leadership that he was called to. His time in the pit, in the prison, were not wasted. They were the preparation for the palace. His story reminds us that what seems like delay is actually preparation for the divine elevation that is coming. Similarly, David spent years as a shepherd, alone with God, before he was called to be king. He was being prepared in the quiet, in the fields, where no one could see him. But that time of obscurity shaped him into the man who could lead a nation. The waiting seasons aren't just seasons of inactivity, they're seasons of preparation, of refinement, and of growth. And now, as you stand at the threshold of your next season, I want you to recognize something powerful. The delay has been the training ground for the breakthrough. Every trial, every difficult moment, every prayer that seemed unanswered, those were the moments that built your resilience, your trust in God, and your ability to handle the greatness that is about to be released. You weren't left behind. chosen one. You were being prepared for something greater than you ever imagined. The mystery of the delay is now clear. It was never about stopping you. It was about making you ready. God wasn't withholding your promise. He was preparing your heart to receive it in the fullness that He intended. The season of waiting has produced a depth in you that can never be taken away. And now, as you step into this new season, you will walk in confidence, knowing that everything that you went through has been part of God's perfect plan. Chosen one, this is it. You've reached the turning point. The waiting, the silence, the season of divine preparation, everything has led you to this moment. What once seemed like a long, drawn-out season of uncertainty is now beginning to make sense. The doors that once remained closed are now swinging wide open. You've endured the testing, you've grown through the silence, and now, heaven is shifting the season. You're moving from waiting to unveiling, from preparation to manifestation. The time of hiddenness is over. God's calendar is in sync with your destiny, and you are stepping into a new season, one of divine acceleration. What once seemed slow is now moving with incredible speed. But this acceleration doesn't drain you, it fuels you. It doesn't overwhelm you, it empowers you. You are about to accomplish more in a shorter time than you ever thought possible. Not because of your own strength, but because you are walking in alignment with heaven's rhythm. For so long, you felt like you were running behind, like you were out of sync with the flow of life. But now, you're about to experience the rhythm of divine timing. Heaven is propelling you forward, and it's not going to feel like you're fighting against time anymore. The pressure, the struggle, the endless striving, all of that is lifting. You're about to walk into a season where things happen effortlessly, where doors open without force, and where the flow of God's favor begins to carry you to places you've dreamed of. It's not that you're doing less. You're doing it with more grace, more ease, and more momentum than ever before. The storms you faced in the past weren't there to destroy you, they were shaping your authority. The fire you walked through didn't burn you, it refined you. Now, as you step into this season of unveiling, everything you've been through, everything that tried to break you, will be the very thing that will elevate you. You are entering a season of divine acceleration, but it's not just about moving faster. It's about moving in alignment with God's purpose for your life. And when you're in alignment with heaven, acceleration becomes a natural flow, not a struggle. As you move into this new season, understand this: acceleration is not the same as rushing. Rushing leads to mistakes. Acceleration, when aligned with God's timing, leads to momentum and effectiveness. It's not about pushing harder. It's about stepping into the rhythm of God's plan, allowing His favor to propel you forward. You will find that things that once took months or years will now take moments. What you prayed for and waited for is now beginning to unfold, and it will feel almost effortless because you are finally in sync with God's perfect timing. You've been prepared for this. The delay wasn't punishment, it was protection and preparation. Now, as you step into the unveiling, you will see that everything you've experienced, the waiting, the trials, the delays, has positioned you for this moment. The favor of God is accelerating your steps, opening doors, and providing opportunities that will bring you to the forefront of your destiny. This is not a time of just receiving what God has for you. This is the time to walk confidently into your purpose, to step into what God has been preparing for you all along. I know it hasn't been easy. There were moments when you felt like you were walking through the wilderness, unsure of which way to go, unsure of what God was doing. But now, as you stand on the edge of this new season, you can look back and see the purpose in every step, every struggle, every moment of waiting, every closed door. None of it was wasted. It was all part of God's divine plan to bring you to this moment of unveiling. The pain, the uncertainty, the silence, they were all part of the process of God preparing you for this incredible acceleration. And now, as heaven begins to release you into your next season, you'll find that the favor of God will begin to chase you. It will follow you everywhere you go, Opportunities that once seemed far off will now come knocking at your door. People who once overlooked you will now seek you out. What once felt like resistance will now be an open invitation. You will walk into rooms that were previously closed to you, and you will do things that once seemed impossible, all because you've aligned yourself with God's perfect timing. This is a season of unveiling, a season where what has been hidden is now coming to the surface. Your gifts, your talents, your purpose, everything that God has been working in you and for you is about to be revealed. You've been hidden for a reason, and now it's time for the world to see the depth of what God has been building in your life. But even more than that, this is a season of divine momentum, where things will begin to happen faster than you ever expected. You won't have to chase after blessings, they will chase after you. Doors will open on their own. Opportunities will present themselves, and you will walk through them with grace, confidence, and ease. I want to remind you that this season of acceleration is not about speed for the sake of speed. It's not about rushing to the finish line. It's about moving in the flow of God's purpose for your life, allowing His favor to carry you forward. You've been walking in sync with God's timing, and now, as you step into this season, that rhythm will lead to divine acceleration. You will accomplish more in the next few months than you have in the past few years. And it won't feel like you're working harder. It will feel like God is carrying you, lifting you, and propelling you forward into the destiny He has prepared for you. This is the moment you've been waiting for. Everything is coming together. The delay, the waiting, the silence, they have all served their purpose. And now, the doors are opening, and you're walking through them with confidence. This is the season where you no longer have to beg for what you've been praying for. You will simply walk into it. You will see God's favor unfold in ways you never imagined. This is your season of unveiling, your season of divine acceleration. Chosen one, as you step into this new season of unveiling and acceleration, I want you to hold on to a powerful truth. What you've been waiting for is not just coming to you, it's coming through you. What you've prayed for, hoped for, and believed for is now about to be realized in a way that you never imagined. But understand this is not a time for hesitation or second guessing. This is your moment to walk forward in faith, confidence, and clarity. You've been waiting, and now the waiting is over. What seemed delayed was simply preparation. Now, the doors are opening, and heaven is accelerating everything in your life. When acceleration comes, it doesn't come with chaos. It doesn't come with anxiety. It comes with the peace of knowing you are in alignment with God's will. This is not a time of rushing. This is a time of divine momentum. God's favor is propelling you forward in a way that will make you wonder how everything is happening so fast. You will accomplish more in the next season than you ever thought possible. Not because you're working harder, but because you're working in God's rhythm. You've learned to listen to His timing. And now He is propelling you forward with a force that can't be stopped. You've been refined, you've been strengthened, you've learned the lessons in the waiting. And now, as you move forward, everything you've learned will propel you into a new level of influence, opportunity, and blessing. This is a season where you're no longer chasing after your dreams. Your dreams are now chasing after you. Opportunities will come to you without effort. Relationships will align in your favor, and doors that were once closed will open with ease. You've been prepared for this, chosen one. You've walked through the fire, and now, it's time to walk into the promise. But here's the key. Even as the doors begin to open, even as the blessings start to flow, you must remember to stay grounded in the truth of who you are. You're not stepping into this season for the applause or for recognition. You're stepping into it for a divine assignment. This acceleration isn't just about personal gain. It's about fulfilling the purpose for which you were created. The favor that you're about to walk in is not just for you. It's for those you are called to serve, to lead, and to impact. As you step into the spotlight, know that the true light that shines through you is not your own. It is the light of God's grace, favor, and purpose. You are a vessel, chosen to carry His presence and His power into the world. The doors that open are meant to bring glory to God, not just glory to you. The influence you gain is meant to lift others, not elevate yourself. This is a season of divine elevation, but it's elevation with purpose, and that purpose will become clear. You will see how every moment of your waiting, every trial, every difficulty has shaped you for this. The storms you endured didn't break you. They made you stronger. The rejections you faced didn't deter you. They redirected you. The silence you walked through didn't isolate you. It refined you. Now, as you step into this season of unveiling, you'll understand that every step you took, even when you couldn't see the way, was a part of God's perfect plan for you. The key to this season of acceleration is humility. It's easy to become overwhelmed by the speed at which things are happening, to think it's all happening because of your own efforts. But remember, the acceleration you're experiencing is not of your own making. It is God's favor and timing at work in your life. Stay humble, chosen one. Continue to seek God in everything you do. Continue to serve others and stay grounded in His will. As you walk into this season of blessing, remember to give glory to the one who brought you here. You are a vessel, not the source of the blessing. And here's the beautiful truth. As God accelerates things in your life, He's not just moving you forward. He's also positioning you to help others move forward. You're not just stepping into your destiny for your own benefit. You're stepping into it to help others find theirs. This is the season where you'll begin to see how your life intersects with others. The relationships you've been waiting for, the doors you've been praying for, the opportunities you've longed for, they are all part of a bigger picture. God is not just elevating you for your own sake. He's elevating you so that you can be a blessing to others. You will see how God uses your story, your testimony, your journey to impact the lives of those around you. The same lessons you learned in the waiting season are now going to be used to help others who are still walking through the silence. Your story will inspire others to trust God in the midst of their own delays. Your testimony will show them that waiting is not wasted. It's a season of preparation for something greater. You will be the evidence that God's promises are true, that He is faithful to bring to completion the work He has started in you. As you walk in divine acceleration, I want you to remember one thing. God is the one who makes things grow. No matter how much effort you put in, no matter how many plans you make, it is God who brings the increase. The Apostle Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians 3-7, "So neither the one who plants nor the one who waters is anything, but only God, who makes things grow." In this season of acceleration, don't forget that it's God who is making it all happen. You may be walking through open doors, but it is God who is opening them. You may be receiving blessings, but it is God who is the source. And as you walk through this season of favor, remember to keep your eyes fixed on Him. It is His strength, His wisdom, and His grace that will carry you through. The acceleration that is coming into your life is not just about speed, it's about synchronization with God's perfect will. You're no longer moving ahead of God, rushing toward your dreams. You're moving in alignment with His purpose. The rhythm of heaven is now your rhythm. And as you walk in this divine flow, you will accomplish more than you ever thought possible. Things that once seemed far out of reach will now be within your grasp. This is a season of favor. A season where everything you've been waiting for is coming to fruition. The favor of God is about to overtake you. What once seemed impossible will now seem easy. What once felt like resistance will now feel like an open invitation. The season of waiting is over. The season of unveiling and acceleration has begun. And chosen one, you are walking into your destiny. Chosen one, as you stand on the threshold of this new season, it's time to understand the weight of what you've walked through. The silence, the waiting, the refining, the acceleration, they were all leading to this moment. The door is opening, and as it does, you are stepping into something you've never experienced before, your divine commissioning. For so long, you've felt like you were simply chosen, walking through life with the understanding that God had a purpose for you, but unsure of exactly what that purpose was or how it would unfold. But now, as you move into this next season, the purpose of your waiting, your trials, and your delays is becoming clear. You were not just chosen for a blessing. You were chosen for a mission. This season isn't about just receiving what God has for you. It's about stepping into the full responsibility of your calling. The mantle that God is placing on you now is not just for personal growth, it's for the work He has prepared for you to do. You are no longer just a recipient of God's grace and favor. You are now commissioned to be a vessel of that grace, a carrier of His purpose, and a beacon of light to those who are still in the dark. You've been chosen for such a time as this, and now God is entrusting you with more. The mantle you're about to wear carries with it both authority and responsibility. It's a weight, yes, but it's also a privilege. You've been prepared in the hidden seasons, in the quiet moments, to now step into the fullness of God's purpose for your life. Your calling is not just for your benefit, it's for the benefit of those around you. You've been given a mission, and it's time for you to walk it out. The mantle you now wear is a symbol of the transformation you've undergone. It's a mantle of authority, integrity, and wisdom. It's a mantle that has been shaped and refined through every struggle, every trial, and every moment of silence. You didn't earn it through your own strength, but through your endurance, your faithfulness, and your ability to trust God, even when you couldn't see what He was doing. You've been prepared to carry this mantle because God knows that you are strong enough to bear it. The waiting, the delays, and the silences were all part of the process. Every setback, every moment of frustration, every heartache was building your capacity to carry this mantle with grace and humility. It's not a mantle of personal glory, it's a mantle of service, a mantle that calls you to serve those around you, to be a light in the darkness, and to bring healing and hope to those who are still walking through their own seasons of waiting and uncertainty. In the past, you may have questioned why you had to go through what you did, but now, you can look back and see that the very trials that seemed to break you were the ones that made you who you are today. Your scars are not signs of weakness, they are proof that you endured. They are proof that you were refined in the fire, and now, as you step into your commissioning, those scars will become your strength. They will be the testimony that others will need to hear, the proof that you've been through the fire and come out purified, ready to step into the calling that God has placed on your life. But with this new mantle comes a new level of responsibility. The authority you carry isn't for your personal benefit, it's for the kingdom. It's for the people you are called to serve, to lead, and to heal. God has called you not to sit in comfort, but to step out and make a difference. This mantle isn't for you to hold tightly and keep to yourself. It's for you to give away, to pour out, and to serve others with. You are not meant to sit on your gifts and talents, but to use them to build the kingdom of God. This is a moment of elevation, but it's not an elevation for your glory. It's an elevation for God's kingdom. You are being elevated so that you can help others rise as well. You've been trusted with this mantle because God knows that you will use it for His glory, not your own. Your purpose is greater than personal success. It's about bringing others into the light, into the truth of God's love and grace. But before you step fully into this mantle, you must first understand that the weight of this responsibility requires humility. The more God blesses you, the more humble you must become. The more favor you receive, the more you must serve. This mantle isn't meant to make you proud, it's meant to make you a servant. It's meant to remind you that the greater the calling, the greater the responsibility. It's a call to lead with integrity, to serve with compassion, and to walk in humility. You are called to be a vessel, chosen not for your own glory, but for God's. And now, as you step into the fullness of your purpose, you will realize that the mantle you carry is not just for the good of those around you, but for the fulfillment of God's plan in the world. Your life is a testimony of His faithfulness. And now it's time for you to share that testimony with the world. The world needs what you have. The world needs the gifts, the wisdom, the strength, and the grace that you carry. This is your time. The waiting is over, and the moment of unveiling has arrived. God has been preparing you for this season, and now He is calling you to step into your destiny, to take up the mantle that has been prepared for you, and to walk confidently into the purpose that He has set before you. Chosen one, as you step into this new mantle and season of commissioning, I want you to understand the weight and the power that this mantle carries. The process you've been through, the delay, the waiting, the silence, wasn't just to prepare you for blessings or personal success. It was to prepare you for the responsibility that comes with this mantle. This isn't just about stepping into a place of visibility. It's about stepping into a place of purpose. This new season is a call to serve, to lead, and to shine light into the darkest places. You see, the mantle you now wear is not about recognition or applause. It's about service. It's about using the authority and favor that God has entrusted to you to make a difference in the lives of others. It's about fulfilling the divine assignment that has been placed on your life. As you wear this mantle, you'll begin to see the incredible opportunity before you to lead with grace, to love without limitations, and to bring healing to the broken. You're not just stepping into something for your own gain. You're stepping into a calling to bless others, to be a light in the world, and to use your influence for good. This new mantle also carries with it a deeper understanding of purpose. You are no longer walking aimlessly through life, hoping to figure out what God has called you to do. You now walk with clarity, with a divine understanding of who you are and what you're meant to do. You've gone through the fire of testing, you've been refined, and now you stand firm in your identity. You no longer chase after approval or validation because you know who you are in Christ. You know the purpose for which you were created, and you walk confidently in it. As you wear this new mantle, I want you to remember that it comes with a responsibility to those who are still waiting, still searching, still struggling. You are called to be a bridge between where people are and where God wants to take them. Just as you have endured the silence, the waiting, and the refining process, you will now be equipped to help others walk through their own seasons of delay and doubt. Your journey has not been for you alone. It has been a preparation to help others through their own battles. The same grace that you have received during your seasons of waiting and refining will now flow through you to those around you. You will be able to speak life into their situation because you have lived through it. You will have the wisdom, the compassion, and the strength to lead them through their own struggles, just as God led you through yours. You will be able to offer hope to those who feel hopeless, to lift up those who are weary, and to share your testimony as proof that God is faithful, even in the silence. But as you step into this commissioning, there will be moments when the weight of responsibility feels heavy. There will be times when you wonder if you're capable, if you're worthy of the calling that God has placed on your life. But I want you to remember this. God doesn't call the equipped, He equips the called. Everything you need to fulfill your purpose is already inside of you. The experiences you've had, the lessons you've learned, the pain you've endured, all of it has been preparation for what you're about to step into. God has been preparing you for this moment, and He will continue to equip you for the journey ahead. The mantle you carry now is not about perfection. It's about obedience. It's about being willing to step into the unknown, to walk in faith, and to trust that God will guide you every step of the way. You are not alone in this. Heaven is with you, and as you move forward in your commissioning, you will find that you are not doing it in your own strength. You are doing it in the strength of the one who called you, equipped you, and is now sending you. There's a unique authority that comes with this new mantle. You may have felt small or insignificant in the past, but now, you walk with the authority of heaven behind you. You've been through the process. You've been refined in the fire, and now you can stand confidently in the place God has called you to. The authority you carry is not for personal gain. It's for kingdom advancement. It's for bringing heaven to earth, for using your influence to make a difference in the lives of others. This mantle gives you the power to heal the broken, to lift the fallen, and to speak truth into situations that have been shrouded in darkness. But with this authority comes humility. The higher God elevates you, the deeper your humility must go. The more influence you gain, the more servant-hearted you must become. This mantle is not for you to wear with pride or arrogance. It's for you to wear with grace, with the knowledge that it was never about you. It's always been about fulfilling God's plan and purpose in the world. You are a vessel, chosen and entrusted by God to carry His light and His truth wherever you go. In this new season, I want you to remember the lessons you've learned through your journey. The waiting, the silence, the delays, they have all shaped you into the person you are today. You've been prepared for this moment. You've been refined, strengthened, and built up to carry the mantle God is now giving you. And as you step into this commissioning, you will see how every moment of your journey has been for this purpose. You are not just stepping into a new season for your own benefit. You are stepping into it for the benefit of those around you. This is the time where your life will become a testimony to others. Your story will be a light in the darkness. Your journey will be a beacon of hope to those who are still walking through their own silent seasons. You will be the living proof that waiting is never wasted. The delay, the silence, the waiting, they were all part of God's plan to shape you into the person who can now carry the mantle of responsibility with grace, humility, and purpose. Thank you so much for joining us on this divine journey today. If this message resonated with you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We want to keep spreading these life-changing insights to those who need it the most. Your support helps us reach more people, and together, we can create a wave of transformation that will ripple across the world. If you're ready to embrace the transformation that's unfolding in your life, let us know in the comments below. Remember, your breakthrough is coming, and we're here to walk with you every step of the way. Stay aligned, stay faith-filled, and see you in the next video.